Hey everyone! Imagine spending hours modeling your project, only to realize every wall is the wrong height. Your doors don't align, your roof won't attach properly, and fixing one mistake means fixing everything. Sounds like a nightmare, right? The good news is, most of these problems can be avoided before you even place your first wall. Today, we're going to build the foundations of our project the same way professional architects do, by starting with the elements everything else depends on: levels, grids, walls, and floors. By the end of the lesson, you'll have the structural shell of your very first Revit project. So once you're ready, let's get started. Welcome back to our Revit 2026 crash course. In episode 1, we focused on understanding how Revit works and exploring the interface and setting up our project correctly. Now, it's finally time to start modeling. One thing you'll notice throughout this course is that we're building this project the same way a professional architecture firm would. This means we won't just place random objects into the model, we'll build it step by step from the ground up. Let's begin with one of the most important concepts in Revit: levels. Before we place a single wall, we need to define the vertical structure of our buildings. That's exactly what levels are. The level is a horizontal reference plane that tells Revit where different parts of the building exists vertically. Think of levels as the floors of your building and not the physical floor slabs itself. These are more so the elevations where building elements are organized. Walls, floors, and even roofs are typically hosted on levels. Even views like floor plans are generated from levels. This means if your levels are incorrect, almost everything else in your project can be effective. Let's see why. Right now, we have a simple 2-story project, and if you notice, we have level 1 and level 2. If I change the height of level 2, watch what happens. The wall automatically adjusts. That's because those walls are constrained between level 1 and 2. We didn't stretch them manually. Revit understood the relationship, and that is another example of BIM working behind the scenes. Instead of drawing independent objects, we're creating intelligent building elements that understand how they're connected. Now let's create a few additional levels together. Pro tip: always rename your levels as soon as you create them. Clear names make large projects much easier to navigate. And every beginner mistake is stretching walls manually instead of checking their top constraint. If your walls aren't behaving the way you expect, check the properties palette before editing the geometry. Now that our levels are in place, it's time to add another important reference system: the grids. At first glance, grids might seem like simple lines with numbers and letters attached to them, but on a real construction project, they're much more than that. Grids act like a shared coordinate system for the entire building. Instead of saying the column is somewhere near the lobby, an architect can simply say, place the column at grid B3, and everyone, from architects and structural engineers to contractors and surveyors, are referring to the same location. That's why almost every professional Revit project starts with the levels and grids before anything else is modeled. Let's try creating ours. Navigate to the Architecture tab and choose the Grid tool. We'll place our first vertical grid. Click once to begin, then move your cursor upward, then click again to finish. As soon as you place it, Revit automatically assigns it a number, then the next grid will continue the numbering sequence automatically. Now let's create a few more for the horizontal grids. Revit will switch to letters instead of numbers. This happens automatically, and these naming conventions are widely used in architectural documentation because they're easy to reference during design and construction. Now let's understand why this matters. Imagine you're on a construction site with hundreds of columns. Nobody measures from random walls. Instead, every structural element is located using the grid system. That's why spending a few extra minutes creating clean grids save hours later in the project. A common beginner mistake is placing walls first and trying to create grids after. Professional projects almost always establish levels and grids before major modeling begins. Now comes the moment most people have been waiting for. We're finally going to create our first wall. Navigate to the Architecture tab and choose Wall. Before placing anything, let's pause for a second. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is immediately clicking into the model without clicking the wall setting. Take a look at the Properties palette and notice our wall already has information assigned to it. It has the wall type, base constraint, top constraint, unconnected height, and several other properties. This tells us something very important. Walls in Revit aren't just lines. They're intelligent building elements with behavior and information already attached to them. Understanding these properties now will save you a lot of frustration later in the project. For this exercise, we'll choose a standard exterior wall, and once you've selected that, move your cursor into the drawing area. As you begin drawing, you'll notice temporary dimensions appearing automatically. These aren't just visual guides, they're editable. Instead of drawing roughly and fixing the wall later, you can simply click the dimension and type exactly what you want. This allows you to model accurately from the beginning, and as you continue drawing, pay attention to Revit's snapping behavior. Endpoint, midpoint, perpendicular, intersection. These small visual cues help you create precise geometry without constantly measuring distance yourself. Pro tip, you don't have to redraw a wall because it's the wrong length. Click the temporary dimension and type the exact measurements. This becomes one of the fastest ways to model accurately. Now, why does this matter? Every wall you place already contains data about its material, thickness, height, and location. Later in the course, Revit will use this information to automatically generate schedules, quantities, sections, and documentation. Right. Quick pause for our architects and firm owners out there. If your deadlines are piling up and you need support with construction documents, we get it. At MGS Global Group, we're architects helping out other architects. And we've been doing this for 18 years, and our team plugs right into your workflow with on-demand project architects specializing in BIM. And we can start in as little as 24 hours. Check us out at mgsglobalgroup.com. Alright, back to the video. Another rookie mistake is leaving the location lines set incorrectly. This can cause walls to shift unexpectedly when changing wall type. Always confirm whether you're drawing from the wall center line, finish line, or core before placing walls. Take a moment to compare your model with mine. At this point, you should have levels, grids, and exterior walls. If your model doesn't look exactly the same, don't worry. Learning Revit isn't about getting everything perfect on the first try. The important thing is understanding why each element was created. That's a skill you'll continue building throughout this course. Now that we've created the exterior walls, it's time to add the floor that ties everything together. Unlike walls, floors in Revit are created using sketch mode. Instead of clicking individual points to build the floor directly, you'll first define a closed boundary. Once the boundary is complete, Revit generates the floor inside it. Easiest way to do this is, especially when your walls are already in place, is by using pick walls. This tells Revit to use the walls as the floor boundaries instead of tracing everything manually. Let's see how it works. Navigate to the Architectural tab and choose Floor. You'll immediately notice that the ribbon changes. That's because you've entered sketch mode. Whenever you're in sketch mode, your goal is to create one complete and closed boundary. If there's even a small gap in your sketch, Revit won't let you finish the floor. For this example, we'll use pick walls. Simply click each exterior wall and notice how Revit automatically follows the wall geometry. If needed, you can adjust this offset depending on whether you want the floor to extend to the walls or extend to the wall centerline, finish face, or structural core. Once the boundary is complete, click the green check mark to finish the sketch, and just like that, your first floor is officially created. Another pro tip, if Revit refuses to create your floor, look carefully for an opening in your sketch. Even a tiny little gap prevents Revit from generating the element. The error message usually tells you exactly what's wrong, so find it, fix it, continue. In professional projects, floors are often much more complex than the simple rectangle we're creating today. They might include multiple structural layers, insulation, finish, slopes, floor openings, and construction joints. But every one of these assembles begin with the exact same workflow you're learning right now. Master the basics, then complexity comes after. One thing you'll quickly notice as you continue working in Revit is the modeling isn't just about creating elements, it's about editing them efficiently. Professional Revit users spend just as much time modifying existing elements as they do creating new ones. Let's take a moment to see what we've accomplished so far. At the beginning of this lesson, our project was completely empty, and now we have properly organized levels and coordinated grid systems, exterior walls, and a completed floor. These may seem like simple elements, but together, they form the foundation of nearly every architectural project you'll create in Revit. Take a moment to orbit around your model, compare it with mine, and appreciate how much you've already learned so far. And just like that, our building finally has a structure, but it's still missing something. There's no way inside. No windows to bring in natural light, and no stairs connecting the upper levels. In the next episode, we'll bring this building to life by adding doors, windows, and stairs while learning how Revit families make every element intelligent and customizable. So that's it for this episode. If you like what you're watching so far, check out our previous episode on setting up your workspace, and check out our Revit playlist over here if you want to learn more about Revit. Thanks so much for watching. If you learned something new today, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, and the bell notification icon so you don't miss out every time we post. We now post twice a week, but that's twice as much videos for you to watch on our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on episode 3.